Hello, everyone. This is Neo Reality Entertainment. We are now back with the podcast. I know it's been a couple of months. I'm with a fellow YouTuber and fellow Star Wars fan, JediMasterDaniel96. He owns a YouTube channel. It's currently rising. It's currently on a rise. He discusses Star Wars and all the expanded universe content. And introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is JediMasterDaniel96. I'm a YouTuber, and I do talk about anything with Star Wars, like the EU and the new canon and all that. And I subscribe to Neo Reality.
Alright, I'll be putting his link in the description after I have finished all this stuff and once it's uploaded onto the internet. So, as we all know, a lot of fans have been very divisive over Episode 8. Incredibly divisive.
Yes. I'd say we're at the lowest point in the fandom.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I get there's some good idea. Okay, there are good ideas in the film. There are some good concepts. But even I was like, I wasn't at the point where I would say it destroyed my childhood.
Same. Like, I saw it on 3 viewings. Like, first viewing, I was kind of like, I didn't get enthusiastic as I should have been. But second and third viewing, I was like, not bad.
Yeah, I had a lot of mixed feelings at first. Like, here's the thing. I've been so weirded by this movie that I didn't know how to feel at first. And then I had a talk with my friend without spoiling the movie because he hadn't seen it yet. But I was planning to... I had, on Audible.com, I had bought the Star Wars Extended Edition of Last Jedi novel in order to get a better understanding to see if there's anything I missed. And then I had watched the director and the Jedi documentary that talks about the behind the scenes stuff after I got my movie on Blu-ray, because I feel like I need to get more details on this.
Yeah, like same. I just got my novelization copy today.
Alright.
And pretty much with the tie-in stuff I've only read in the Journey to the Last Jedi stuff, all I read is the Phasma comic and Journey in the Luke book.
Yeah.
With the tie-in content.
Yeah, and I think that's like a major problem I have with Disney's canon. It feels like the books are what is telling the movie. The movie is being surrounded with the books instead of the books being surrounded with the movies.
Yeah, I agree. Like, they have it backwards. And I feel like that's the whole because they think fans wouldn't read the books to know the movie.
Yeah, like, I kept wondering, why is it like this? Like, okay, in the prequels, like, yeah, there was some necessary expanded universe content to be asked, like, why does Obi-Wan say 1,000 generations in episode 4, but Palpatine says 1,000 years in episode 2? Like, what's the difference with that? But, like, that's just a minor detail.
True.
Yeah.
Quick.
Alright.
So, we're going to talk about what would you like to see in episode 9?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in episode 9. There's a lot of big uncertainties, especially after the passing of Carrie Fisher, and her story arc was never really completed.
And I don't think the Meryl Streep thing should be that necessary, which I don't think the petition will impact anything. The petition.
Yeah, I've been like, when I was hearing about that, I was like, I don't know, should they really want to see her recast? Like, no one can replace Carrie Fisher. Like, I always was like, if they had done the old canon, if they did like, we always talked about this on private messaging about what if they had done the expanded universe and did things after like 200 years or so that George Lucas apparently had written up, but Disney said no, we're throwing that stuff away. I was like, okay, you could have Carrie Fisher play Leia as the Force goes, and here's the thing, that wouldn't affect like future episodes of Carrie Fisher suddenly passed because, oh well, you could make the argument she finally decided to go to the other side like Obi-Wan did in the Thrawn trilogy.
True, like you could, what's the word? I feel like Episode 9, I think will be set 3 to 5 years after Episode 8.
Yeah, if I was in charge of Episode 9, I would have started with explaining what happened to the Outer Rim allies.
Yeah, in one of my videos when I said about things I'd like to see in Episode 9, I'd love to see maybe the Mandalorians in the movie. I want to see us go to Mandalore in the movie.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But I was thinking, when I was thinking my version for Episode 9, I was thinking this. How about, because they weren't in Episode 8, but they were mentioned, the Knights of Ren are responsible for why the Outer Rim allies never really came to help.
Yes, and I'd love to see definitely Kylo Ren at Vader's castle from Rogue One.
Yeah, by the way, about Rogue One, I was hearing that the production on that was a horrible mess.
Oh yeah, I heard that headline.
Yeah, I didn't read the full details on it, but I was like, for a whole mess it got, like, I actually liked it. I thought it took a little bit more chances than Force Awakens did, which felt like it was playing too safe.
Yeah, I think Rogue One is the strongest Disney's the OT connections, and the Clone Wars and Rebels connections.
Yeah, it always... I did like it. Like, it felt like there was more stuff going on. Like, yeah, we might have gotten lack of character development, and that probably should have been used more. But ultimately, I was enjoyed, and I did like it. I did like some of the humor. I would have loved if we got more character development. Like, there could have been an interlude scene, but yeah, everything about it was all right with me.
Yes, Sam. In the first act, it's slow.
Yeah, the film starts off pretty slow, but there were some things I wanted to do if I made Episode 9. Like, I'll start with you. Like, how would you want to start off Episode 9?
Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. Maybe, like, the Resistance, like, show the new Resistance base and how they're in them fully fledged, like, kind of that. I'd love to see, like, Luke's Force Ghost talk to, because I have brought the idea of maybe having Mara Jade in Episode 9 to complete Rey's training, and Luke tells Rey to go to his wife Mara Jade, kind of like how Obi-Wan told Luke in Empire to go see Yoda.
Yeah, except, speaking of Yoda, I just lost interest in Yoda as a character. It's heavily debated, but here's what I was saying in my Last Jedi video when I had made it up. Part of me get the feeling that if you really look at the prequels and then what happened in the sequel, Episode 8, I was like, all this kind of sounds like it's kind of your fault, Yoda.
True.
Yeah, like, remember how in Episode 1 Yoda said clouded Anakin's future is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like that's the same distrust that Luke has, because he senses a darkness in his nephew. That means, oh, well, I can't do anything. Like, even though there's like a million other things I can do, I could probably do that, but I choose, I probably should kill him.
Oh, no, that was... Would you say that was out of character for Luke?
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, did he forget that his dad just did 20 years of oppression with the Emperor? Yeah. It was like...
We'll see Thrawn in the First Order in Episode 9.
Okay, here's the thing I was gonna say. I get the feel. Okay, like my viewpoint of how I would start episode 9 would be having the Knights of Ren leading an attack on the Outer Rim allies, and in the ensuing chaos, we see Ahsoka Tano and Thrawn, but much older, being revealed as part of the allies, and probably Ezra and Sabine, since there could be an argument they could make it there. But yeah, I get the feeling Thrawn wouldn't join the First Order because in the Thrawn novel, it's explained that Thrawn has been fighting an unknown entity in the unknown regions, a lot like the Yuzan Vong version they made, but instead of the Yuzan Vong, they hinted that it might be Snoke.
Even though the Vong were going to be in the Clone Wars, but Clone Wars is also Legends territory as well.
Yeah, there are parts of it that's still canon, like Ahsoka, but yeah, like they still say that the series is as a whole is canon, and they did say that everything that happened or was supposed to happen in the Clone Wars did in fact happen in the new canon.
Yeah, so is the Vong gonna show up?
I don't really think so. Like, they probably might, but at the same time, it's like they're at the final chapter in episode 9. There really would be a waste to just bring in a whole new enemy.
True. Why not, if you have like an episode 10, have a new enemy?
Yeah, but I always thought there would be a more interesting way how to tie everything together in my mind. But here's the thing: what would you have done with Princess Leia or General Leia?
Oh, for episode 9, I think they should write her out of the story. I think maybe they should we on for this. Like, we need to have it set a few years after The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I would agree to that, but something tells me a lot of fans would say it kind of feels empty without Carrie Fisher's light there. Like,
Yeah.
you see, here's the thing. There's this one problem I really have with the new canon that I discussed with another Star Wars fan on fanfiction.net. You read the novel Bloodline, right?
Yes.
Okay, remember when it was revealed that to the galaxy that General Leia is indeed the daughter of Darth Vader?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember every detail, but I kind of get, like, where, yeah, there was something like that. Then it was, like, Ransom's Casterfo and Carice Sindian, was it?
I think so. I don't really remember much of the details. All I know is that a friend of Leia sold her out and revealed the information during a meeting.
Yeah, and how long was the next one?
I think
6 years before.
Yeah, I think it was 6 to 5 years before The Force Awakens. But to me, when I saw that and read all this stuff, I was like, that kind of sums up my thoughts on this new canon. It feels like everybody that we grew up with are just miserable. Like, think about it. Han and Leia broke up, Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, Luke is miserable and wanting to die on Ahch-To and doesn't tell anybody.
What's the point of the map in The Force Awakens?
Okay, that actually can be explained.
Yeah, because that's what I feel like Rian Johnson glossed over what J.J. Abrams had set up. Like, I feel like he took some turn to kill off. Like, I didn't see Snoke coming, and did you hear the news that J.J. Abrams had a different plan for Rey's parents?
Yeah,
someone of significance.
Yeah, I heard that, but I was like, I know J.J. Abrams probably had a different plan, but I was like, really, I don't think it would have worked, because if they did give Rey some significant parents who were really important, it would be like, oh, if it's Han and Leia, oh, so you're ripping off Jaina Solo. But if they do with Luke, then oh, you just made a reverse gendered Ben Skywalker. It would be like more things like saying, oh, Disney doesn't want to come up with new ideas. They just want to steal stuff and claim it's their own idea.
True, and then I think Solo is going to have a lot of EU stuff.
Yeah. But
anyway, that's what, I mean, even though, do you think we'll see Jason Syndulla in episode 9?
There's a possibility, but even then, I don't know.
And yeah, it's kind of weird, like, because honestly, I feel like they could have just left Kylo Ren as Jason Solo, and even though, because Ben is more a Luke name.
Yeah, and Star Wars Twitter account officially did confirm that, yeah, we know who you're thinking about when you hear the name Jason Syndulla. That's intentional.
Yeah, and it's actually spelled the same way as it was for Jason Solo in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also, I mean, with episode 9, I mean, it's like, they realized like as one of the resistance fighters.
Yeah.
And I just thinking about it the other day, so I didn't mention it in my video, I was just thinking about it the other day, maybe he's in a resistance squadron.
Yeah, maybe since...
in the old canon.
Yeah, maybe since, the Millennium Falcon can survive God knows how long, how about we just have the Ghost arrive?
Yes.
Though, ultimately, but yeah, on Bloodlines, I was thinking, why is Luke, Han, and Leia, after everything they did in episode 6, they're basically miserable in the future?
Yeah, it's kind of, do you feel like they're not, together as much after Return of the Jedi in the new canon? It seems like they split up.
Yeah, Luke went to go ahead and form the new Jedi Order, which failed. But Han and Leia, they had a kid. Then Kylo Ren is very angry and very angsty for some reason. I still don't know the full details on that. But I was like, so why is everyone acting like an imbecile? Here's the thing. Why doesn't Luke just Han and Leia keep referring to Anakin as Vader, Vader never turned back from the light. I get Leia would not want to talk about Anakin as much because of what Vader did to her. I get that, but at the same time, she could have told Ben the whole Anakin was this. He saved your uncle.
True. And dude, and also I hope the next animated show explores this era.
Yeah, I would hope for that too, but at the same time, I'm worried how is Disney going to screw this up?
Do you think Dave Filoni could do the job? He'll make the sequel trilogy better, with an animated show? Because that's what a lot of people say with Clone Wars, it made the prequels better.
Yeah, probably, but at the same time, it'd be continuing Disney's philosophy that you need to have all this material in order to understand the sequel trilogy. Okay, you need all this extra material. Huh?
I mean, you don't need the original trilogy. With the originals and the prequels, you didn't need all these books to understand. It was more optional.
Yeah, like I said, the Expanded Universe Legends wasn't perfect, but it wasn't a requirement.
True, that's what I feel like with the new canon. There's not much books or comics that stand on their own. I feel like with Thrawn, you could read that and not watch Rebels.
Yeah, but at the same time, Phasma's character, she's the biggest example of, you have to read the books to know her, but you really doesn't matter in the movie.
Would you say, she's the Boba Fett and Darth Maul and Jango Fett of the sequel trilogy?
No, because at least Boba Fett got some shots in, but Phasma, what did she really do?
Nothing.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I had learned a Phasma backstory when I was looking stuff up about her, and I was like, okay, why is the character in the books and comics so different from the one we got in the movie?
Yeah, were you just scrolling through Wikipedia?
Yeah, and I was even watching some of Star Wars Explains videos and Stupendous Waves, and I was like, yeah, this Phasma looks and sounds completely different.
Yeah, I think I watched Star Wars Explained videos, then I watched what's his name, and then just a few other YouTubers, I think, on the Phasma book review.
Yeah, from what I gather, Phasma's from a world that's a lot like Mad Max Fury Road in the Star Wars universe, which sounds awesome, and I would like to see that on a show, but sadly they might never do that. for a variety of reasons, but, like, she doesn't care about the First Order. She's in it just to survive. And I was like, okay, that actually sounds cool. Why was this not in the movie?
True.
Like, imagine this new... You want to know what I kept hoping would happen in Episode 8?
What?
I was hoping that they would do something interesting with Phasma. Instead of keeping her in the First Order, it gets revealed that she doesn't care about the First Order and that she actually intentionally did just to save her own hide, and she has to try to retreat from the First Order chasing her because, you know, she's responsible for the destruction of Starkiller Base, and she joins up with the Resistance because she just wants to survive and has to forcibly team up with Finn.
Oh, that would be kind of something. And do you think Hux will die in Episode 9?
Okay, he's practically guaranteed to die. I'm surprised he didn't die in Episode 7.
Or 8. Like, I thought Snoke was gonna kill him in, like, the beginning.
Yeah, here's the thing. I was reading details from the Last Jedi novel. Apparently, Snoke did contemplate killing Hux. However, he killed his dad, but he kept Hux as a convenience for him.
Really?
Yeah, and... Okay, it gets very confusing. Like, we actually learn more about Snoke in the novel than we do in the movie.
Yeah, like, in The Force Awakens, when he said he saw the rise and fall of the Empire, so that kind of knows he witnessed events from the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy.
Yeah, but here's the thing that should be kind of shocking. Snoke is apparently revealed in the extended edition book that he actually did meet Luke Skywalker.
In the 30-year gap?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get that in Dave Filoni's next project?
No idea, but if I was to guess, I would say that Snoke will be eventually in an animated show because Thrawn and Ezra are out in the middle of nowhere and Snoke's waiting for them in the unknown. So yeah, Sabine, Ahsoka, Ezra, and Thrawn, they're going to be busy.
Or maybe, like, Ezra is Snoke's other apprentice that's been mentioned.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but at the same time, no, I don't see that really happening unless unless they rip Snoke off from the Sith Emperor from the Old Republic era.
Or what about another idea? I remember I talked to, like, a YouTuber called Short Stormtrooper, and I suggested this theory about what happens if Snoke has a secret apprentice that's a son of Luke Skywalker, and maybe he's one of the Knights of Ren that Kylo Ren took off with. Like Disney Canon Ben Skywalker.
Yeah, I actually did suggest that theory back before The Force Awakens came out when I gave a video about what the Knights of Ren were, in my opinion. But I was like, at the same time, I was like, I don't really know if that could work.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, like, before, like, after The Force Awakens, when the whole theory thing came up, I was mostly on the team Rey Skywalker. Just because it was the most logical if related to anyone.
Yeah, I was thinking Rey was Jaina Solo just with a different name because, oh, Disney, we have no original ideas for ourselves.
And her being a Kenobi would have confused the heck out of the casuals.
Yeah, here's the thing. The idea that Rey was a Kenobi idea, I was like, that doesn't make any sense because,
All
one...
All the people that I even know, like, all the people that would theorize that, I mean, you guys were making fools out of yourselves. Like, I mean, dude, I even know, like, if that happened, oh man, the new canon would be a mess. Like, even though the people that all say, oh, the EU was a mess, which pretty much it wasn't, but, oh, if that happened, oh, the new canon would be plot holes galore.
Yeah, because I would have to think, like, wait, if Obi-Wan really had a child that would give birth to, that would eventually have Rey, I was like, but wait, when would that happen? Satine's dead, so it can't be her. Obi-Wan wouldn't really get attached to anybody, even in exile, because, you know, oppressive empire, right? Having to look after Luke. I don't think he would want a kid to deal with.
At the time, like, I mean, I don't think they would have anywhere to recanonize Siri Tachi.
Yeah. Like, they probably could, but at the same time, she's probably dead if they do bring her back. So,
what else? I mean, do you think like we'll see Ahsoka in episode 9?
that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I could see Ahsoka in episode 9 for actually two reasons. One would be Ahsoka at the end of Rebels looked surprisingly young for someone who's apparently in their 40s.
True. Do you think like she helps Luke build the new Jedi Order, and then do you think she gets killed in the attack, maybe?
No. The reason why I say she probably wouldn't help Luke rebuild the Jedi Order is, one, because she's looking for Ezra during this time probably still, and two, if she was, then what we had saw that led to Ben Solo's downfall would never happen, because, how do I put this delicately? Oh, right, Ahsoka is not as dumb as the old Jedi Order.
True. And I'm trying to think of something. Hang on. Do you think we'll see like Iden Versio and Del Meeko in episode 9?
No, Iden Versio and Del Meeko are dead.
Oh, they died in the campaign? I mean, I haven't beat it.
Yeah, they died in the second campaign story missions they released. But Iden Versio does have a daughter who went to go find the Outer Rim allies.
True.
So that she could probably be in episode 9.
I mean, also, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, like, I know I think a lot of people all went on this bandwagon that those were Rey's parents, and then this got debunked in a heartbeat.
Yeah, when I heard that might be Rey's parents, I was like, I don't really think so, because I just don't really think that would have worked.
Yeah, and plus it would give too much. It would kind of, I think, be a spoiler and stuff. Like, I feel like Rey's parents had to be kept secret.
Yeah, like, okay, but the idea of Rey not being a descendant of anybody, like, I thought that was actually kind of a good idea, because really, I don't think any other idea would have worked, because everyone would have either just said, that idea is terrible, that idea makes no sense, or, oh, you're just ripping off Legends.
True. Yeah, I mean, I hope speaking of Rey's parents, for the episode 9 segment, I think they need to go more in depth of it, if J.J. Abrams goes with what Rian Johnson had, or he goes with what he had in mind and tries to find a retcon, a way around what Rian Johnson had in stored, and say, like, Kylo Ren.
Yeah, they would have to do that, but at the same time, here's the thing Rian Johnson admitted in an interview a few months just before the movie came out. You'd probably be surprised by what I'm about to say. Rian Johnson revealed that everything that J.J. Abrams set up in Episode 7, Disney had no plans for that.
Yeah, I saw stuff like that before. And then a few months later, we get J.J. Abrams had outlines.
Yeah, but somebody told me, like, what if J.J. Abrams went through the same thing George Lucas did? They just tossed his ideas away.
True, like, and then they're all saying, and then, like, I feel like, did you see that thing where they're all making assumptions that like the new trilogy is similar to Lucas's ideas, and then I think do you think it's PR damage control because of how much hate they're getting with The Last Jedi?
I really don't know. Like, when I keep hearing about how George Lucas viewed his sequel trilogy, especially his interviews where he said that's not the Star Wars I made, I was like, I get the feeling that he might be telling the truth. Like, yeah, I don't think George Lucas, like, here's the thing. There's always, you always said this, there was always these debates about whether George Lucas cared about the expanded universe or not, or whether or not he hated the old canon's expanded universe material. And then there was this huge argument you had with somebody on Twitter. Part of me wanted to get involved in that and actually just say this in order to just derail the situation. It was like this. This is what I was believing. I don't know if George Lucas loved the expanded universe or not, But I get the feeling that he knew the fans loved the expanded universe and tried everything in his power to make sure it stayed along with new ideas.
Yeah, like, I think he cared about it, and they, had to follow these rules by him, like, true. And then I think then they're saying, like, that the Rey Luke storyline is trilogy, and then all saying that it was Lucas's idea to have Luke as a hermit, but I mean, I don't think, Lucas would have Luke, be as the way he was in The Last Jedi, throw his lightsaber over his shoulder and then go on an island to die.
Yeah, like, when I had heard the line, "It's time for the Jedi to end," I thought for sure it would be some big adventure of Luke trying to find a way to end the Jedi religion, the Sith religion, because I'm gonna be honest, both sides kind of suck.
Yeah. Do you feel like when Kylo Ren's let the past die is like they're trying to like make you forget about everything that came before?
I don't know about that theory, but like when Kylo Ren was saying all this stuff about it's time to let the old era die, the Jedi, the Sith, and all this, I was like, is this a sign that there's a problem if the villain we're supposed to hate is making the most sense?
Yeah, and then I remember like you Lucas, he does like he's kind of like up with all the versus guys with Evan Nova and all them and Grey Jedi 91. Then Jen Sarai made the analogy that Kylo Ren represents Kathleen Kennedy, the story group, and the new fans, and Rey represents the old fans.
Yeah, I can see that analogy, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm still not in with the new canon. I'm open to something like this, but like, not the way Disney made it out to be. And then I had heard of an interview that Kathleen Kennedy said, where she said that, oh, girls can't connect with Luke.
I know, which is BS. Like, I mean, come on, they could have had they had so many female characters in America, like Jaina Solo, Mara Jade, Alana Solo, Anya Solo.
Yeah, when I had heard that she thought that Luke doesn't connect with girls because girls can't connect with Luke, like, I was like, really? You're seriously going with this logic? We're really going with political correctness?
Yeah, and then I kept the Falcon. He predicts the Millennium Falcon is the next big thing to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of it.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if they kill off Chewbacca at 9, even though, Leland G says they had to get rid of it because Chewie died.
Yeah, I heard that he just said that was his viewpoint on why they got rid of it. It wasn't the company's viewpoint.
Would you say, I'm not sure if they're trying to justify, for rebooting it, and, yeah, what you said, it could be his viewpoint, which I don't think he wasn't happy, because Leland G, he was the lore guy, he's the kind of the guy, he was one of George Lucas's right-hand men for the expanded universe, and all that to keep track, and he was George Lucas's continuity cop, and
yeah,
he's not in the spotlight as he is he's not in the spotlight for the Disney era. He's kind of on the back burner. Do you think he secretly was against the reboot?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were still some people that were mad that they got rid of the old canon. Some people, I keep hearing these stories that some people were mad at Kathleen Kennedy and Disney for doing that, but they never gave out names.
I know, and then some people were saying that they all that Pablo Hidalgo is being a bit toxic to EU fans. Would you say that?
Well, I don't really follow his Twitter account, so I really can't say.
I don't know, I've talked with EU fans that kind of don't like some of Pablo Hidalgo's behavior on Twitter. Did you see, even though you don't follow him, did you ever hear about he trolled people on the Old Republic Netflix thing?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Oh, it was a year ago. He shows, how they all compared the Obama inauguration to the Trump thing. Or I think he had a picture of the Donald Trump inauguration, and he like shows this is how many people want a TV show, which there were actually more than that. Like that petition was like blowing up.
Oh, that is just bad publicity.
Yeah. And do you think I know, like, I wonder what it'd be like. I mean, do you think we'll ever get Legends continued?
Well, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. The reason... Okay, remember how I was telling you about how Marvel and DC can do their own things for some reason?
Yes.
I was like... I get the feeling the reason why Disney has such more of a firm grip over Lucasfilms is because fans hated the prequels, and Disney says, well, you see, if we left you to your own devices, we could have the level of the prequel hate.
Yeah, which The Last Jedi is more... The Last Jedi hate is worse than the prequel hate.
Yeah, but when I was hearing petitions to say, let's get rid of The Last Jedi from the new canon, I was like, so let's see if I get this straight. So there are fans here that hated that Disney rebooted Star Wars, and now you want Disney to reboot Star Wars again just to get rid of this one film?
Yeah, like, honestly, do you think they'll do another reboot with Star Wars? That soon will have 3 timelines?
It's Disney. It wouldn't put it past me.
Plus, they're back with Marvel for comic books.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, that's my fear. Like, I feel like since, America has all the old year, they have the hierarchy.
Yeah, I recall the hierarchy.
And do you think the new canon they need to do that? Like, for example, let's say have the movie canon, then
they probably could do that, but at the same time, I don't think they know if that could work right in the new Disney era, but we'll see.
Didn't want to be on one layer, and plus the Freemaker adventures aren't really part of the new canon timeline.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but I do actually have a crazy idea about Snoke and what happened in Rebels. And remember how they mentioned the Cosmic Force thing?
Kind of.
Well, I found out in the book of Last Jedi, guess what Snoke says about Rey?
What?
He says that Rey is a product of the Cosmic Force.
Really?
Yeah.
And I heard, like, some reviews that they hear that Rey was able to sink in Kylo Ren's Force powers, and that explains how he was powerful. It's where, everyone comes to the Mary Sue claim.
Yeah, I heard that idea. Like, that sounds interesting, and she might be doing things on reflex, but I just feel like that's like a copped-out excuse.
True. Like, because I was kind of in the camp, like, to make her, like, Luke's daughter, and then Mara Jade, or a character similar, to have, like, one Force user and another Force user have Rey. And I felt that would make things simply just explain some plot holes from The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and then I had read these interviews about The Last Jedi, and then I found something else out, and I was like, oh god, has Disney reached this desperation level already? Because I kept hearing that there were certain plot elements from The Last Jedi that actually relate to a fan fiction made around the time Force Awakens.
I heard that.
Yeah, I was like...
And I remember watching a video from Dark Zenobia on that.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, this is just sad. Did Disney really order people to start stealing fanfiction ideas?
Yes. I wonder do you think Abrams will do his own story instead of ripping off a fanfiction?
They ripped off the...
Disney or Lucasfilm had to be in that.
Honestly, I don't think J.J. Abrams will, because in 7, he set the foundations. Like, let's see, we got Jason Solo, we got the Sun Crusher combined with the Death Star combined with the Star Forge. And we got the Imperial Remnant just named after the First Order. We also got kind of similar plot elements to not just the prequels and original trilogies, but part of me got the feeling like, are we also getting elements from Legacy of the Force and the Yuzon Vong War, New Jedi Order?
I don't know.
Because
and also Luke used the Force projection in the EU.
Yeah, I had said that I had been wanting to make a video saying my idea was this. I was going to go ahead and go into descriptive detail about this Force projection ability and what it was, and then I would just ultimately reveal that was in Legends. What you're hearing is Legends material. So basically, yeah, the argument is saying Luke would never have used that ability in Legends, but he did.
You know, they did that. I know, and then Ryan Johnson pulled out the Jedi Path book, and that's a EU book.
Yeah.
And it's one of the Legends source books.
Yeah, that must have been a bad day for the pro Star Wars fans.
Like the pro Disney fans, like.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, as I said about like having Mara Jade in it, and then you brought up Ahsoka in it. At least and then Thrawn in it. Man, at least Episode 9 toy sales could do well and get people back in the seats.
Yeah, I could actually imagine Thrawn being on the Resistance side because Snoke corrupted what he believed was the right at one point, but then when he realized Snoke was in charge, he just couldn't go back to it and joined back up with the Chiss.
Yeah, because do you see at local stores, there's you'll just see Star Wars toys that haven't even moved, and you'll still see Force Awakens and Rogue One toys still.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, are they even selling this? And then it's even multiple YouTube videos as well. I mean, and how do you think Solo toys will sell?
That I have no idea. I think people are still troubled by all the reshoots and production issues.
Yeah, my only hope is Ron Howard's friendship with George Lucas, because they did work together on Willow.
Yeah, but at the same time, Ron Howard made the How the Grinch Stole Christmas live-action movie, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, at least, and then there's gonna be EU stuff in Solo. Maybe Ron Howard's an EU fan.
Probably. I really don't know.
Maybe
but
George Lucas told him I have this long expanded.
Alright. And I do believe George Lucas was said to have made a scene in Solo.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember in the Underworld show, did George Lucas plan the idea of, in the Underworld show, was there going to be, how Han won the Falcon from Lando and how he met Chewie?
I don't think that was the plan. I don't know. All I know is that it may have something to do with Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there was going to be a Han Solo episode, and I remember hearing there was going to be Quinlan Vos, because I know I heard George Lucas is a huge Quinlan Vos fan.
Yeah.
And then I think I heard they could have had Starkiller in the show.
Yeah, but I really don't know about that part, though. They said they wanted to try what it'd be like to not have Force users.
Yes. Do you think we would have had ties, characters, material in it?
Probably, but I really don't know.
Yeah. And I think, as I said, with George Lucas' sequel trilogy, I mean, I could see he probably could have had, Ben Skywalker, probably. Could have been after Crucible or after the Legacy comics.
Yeah. But, okay. Remember how I was on Twitter after the World Between Worlds episodes, and I said that what they presented on there actually could save both the Disney canon and the Legends canon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had made this video, and this could actually do well for a big climactic thing for Episode 9. I was like this, okay, how about during this huge epic battle, there's suddenly something missing with Kylo Ren and Rey. Eventually, as a big duel's happening, and then there's this huge burst of energy and whatnot, and they find themselves somehow in the world between worlds. But there's another force in there, not the cosmic force, but another force. Except this realm's all corrupt. The world between worlds has become all corrupted from what we saw in Rebels, like the world seemingly falling apart in there. And then we get a little bit of a twist.
What?
We actually see Snoke, but a little bit different, like he's younger.
And so we get his backstory.
A little bit. Like, here's what I was proposing in my video when I told you about that I made this video. That the idea is that Snoke is an original character, but he's not from the new canon universe. He's from the Legends timeline. He went back in time for the world between worlds on a planet that was pretty much Lothal, but had a different name because that's clearly likely, and he altered history.
Seems like a good twist. And how do you think fans would react to that?
Well, they seem to love the fact that time travel now exists in Star Wars, even though it's been there before. It just wasn't as used as much.
True.
And I think it also had to do with the fact that it saved Ahsoka's life, so that gave him props.
And yeah, because I said, like, what else? I'm thinking of other ideas. How do you, do you think Rey and Finn will be a couple in it at the end of Episode 9?
I don't know, but my way of ending Episode 9 would be a way in order to keep both worlds intact. Like they have to kill the original Snoke, the paradox that's interfered with time and history. And with his death, it would actually create an alternative timeline where the Legends canon still exists, but the new Disney canon still exists.
True.
It could be like the only way I feel like could save both canons. Like, you could justify the reboot, but at the same time keep the Legends canon as an alternative timeline.
Yes, and then at least like the EU movement would get its success. Like, and plus we'll all get our new books and stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of like that.
Yeah, it would, like, have to, like, this whole world between worlds thing, that gave me a lot of good ideas of what they could do in Episode 9, and mostly it revolves around a time-traveling Snoke.
So should we, like, talk to Matt Wilkins and all them about this?
We probably could try, but at the same time, he doesn't have Twitter, and I don't know his Google thing, so I really wouldn't know.
Yeah, because I don't think he said he's on social media. I think the only thing we could reach him is YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, like, yeah, I was like, imagine if they did this. Imagine if Disney had, like, to me, it would fix so much stuff that's wrong with the new canon in my mind. Like, wait, why do the Jedi suddenly have guns?
Yeah, like in the Darth Vader comics.
Yeah, that always confused me. Like, wait, why is there guns? And it's not like any regular gun. This is clearly a Jedi-based gun because the logo's on there.
I know, I've always found that weird. I mean, how has the Darth Vader series been going for you? I mean, I haven't been up to date with it that much.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm, like, trying my best to enjoy it. There are some good things in it, but I'm just not enjoying this version of Darth Vader because, like, this Vader's, like, very unrepentant, and I get that, but at the same time, I kind of miss the old Vader we had, where he was conflicted. He still had parts of his past still haunting him. Like, remember that emotional scene in the comics from the old canon where Vader sees C-3PO again?
I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, you want to know what Disney did in the new Marvel comics?
What?
They said this. Okay, so you see that emotional moment where Darth Vader sees C-3PO again? Nah, let's cut that out. Let's have Vader just try and destroy C-3PO entirely. And I was like, really? You really hate anything that was good in the old canon that you're going to destroy a character?
Oh man, that's really good. And what do you say, like, the bit when they when Yoda says in The Last Jedi, the page turners they are not, do you think they're making a propaganda against Legends?
Part of me did feel like that, but at the same time, Yoda lied.
Yeah, because I remember, like, Dark Zenobia said that in his review/rant.
Yeah, but here's the thing I found out. Rey has the books.
I never caught that on screen. Like, my 3 viewings, I never caught her stealing the books.
Yeah, we never see her steal the books, but when I think Finn opens a desk, we see the books in there.
Really?
Yeah, on the Millennium Falcon.
I'll have to keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, when I had read that, when I had saw that, I was like, no. Oh, okay, that's it. All bets are off. Yoda, you want me to be mad at you? Okay, fine, I'll play be mad at you. Like, you are lying to Luke now. You lied to him when he was younger. You're lying to him now because you're Mr. I can't imagine the Jedi being wrong or anything. I was mad when I saw that.
Force Ghost in Episode 9?
Huh?
Do you think we'll see Anakin's Force Ghost in Episode 9?
For some reason, they kept hinting that... Okay, from before Episode 8 began production, there was reports that Hayden Christensen was actually in training to come back for Episode 8, but nothing materialized with that.
Yeah, do you think we'll get Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan as a Force Ghost?
Probably, but something tells me he's going to come back for the Obi-Wan movie they're going to do.
Yeah, is that going to be the 2020 movie?
That's rumored to be it, but at the same time, no confirmation yet.
Yeah, and then the Rian Johnson trilogy doesn't even have a confirmation.
And then there's also the people who made Game of Thrones making their own show. I mean, their own movie series.
Gonna happen?
Huh?
When are they going to make their series?
They're going to make it after they finish Game of Thrones in 2019. So they're probably going to start writing in production of the movies, of the series of movies after some years pass.
And do you hear that Rian Johnson never read the Expanded Universe, but he played the Old Republic games?
No, I did not hear that.
I heard it. There was a headline. I think, I get. Do you think J.J. Abrams may have read the Expanded Universe? Since he has a new version of Jason Solo.
Sort of. Probably read, small... At best, he might have read small tidbits of it and thought, okay, let's see. This sounds interesting. Let's pluck them from there and just change it up a bit.
Yeah, and Darth Talon was in concept art for The Force Awakens. I was thinking maybe they were going to do Legacy, the movie. And then the EU got rebooted.
Yeah, I kept hearing that, and I was like, oh, God.
Or maybe that could have been George Lucas's ideas. Maybe it could have...
Actually, I do think it was George Lucas's idea, because do you remember the Darth Maul game they wanted to make?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted Darth Vader in the Legacy era, and Darth Talon was supposed to be a companion for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Darth Maul was going to be in hundreds of years in the Legacy era?
Yeah, they were either going to make an excuse that he was either a clone or a descendant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the idea was that... Huh?
Wait, was this supposed to tie with the TCW retcon?
I think so. This was supposed to be... this was during when the Clone Wars were still around, and this is when Darth Vader's popularity reached another all-time high when he came back, and George Lucas said, hey, let's make a Darth Maul game, and they started making some stuff up, and ultimately got canceled around the time when negotiations happened between Disney and LucasArts, and they had to scrap everything.
Yeah. What did you say after when I said, what did you say before, when I mentioned the Darth Maul retcon?
I was gonna say that they were gonna have Darth Talon be in this game with Darth Maul, and they were gonna team up. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty awesome. Does this also have Darth Krayt in there from the Legacy era?
Oh, that'd be kind of cool as well.
It would have been interesting if we saw Darth Maul try to rebuild his Sith viewpoint, since by the end of the old era, of the Expanded Universe era, there are basically apparently no more Sith because the last person who believed in the rule of true was killed off by the descendant of Solo. And the idea of... Huh?
Was that Alana or Anya?
Okay, this was 100 years after Legacy of the Force or so I think it was... I can't remember which Solo name it was.
So it could have been Anya, probably.
Yeah, her. I think it was her.
Yeah, because she was the protagonist of Legacy 2. And
yeah, it's her.
Yeah, because Legacy 1 is Cade's story, and Cade Skywalker, and then Legacy 2 is Anya.
Yeah, but imagine if they did do that game and put Maul versus Cad Skywalker. That actually would have sounded pretty interesting.
Yeah. Maybe, do you think they could use the Darth Talon concept in Episode 9? Because they like to revisit old concepts.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, but at the same time, like I said, the only way they could face it, they could bring her in is if she's the new apprentice of, if she was the former apprentice of Snoke, but other than that, there's no other way.
Or if she's like Kylo Ren's right hand.
Yeah, that could work, but at the same time, the Knights of Ren were never shown any females, as far as we know. They were all guys.
Yeah. Do you think they're like Luke's students?
Yeah, because Luke mentioned how Kylo Ren took some students with him, that some joined up with him.
Then maybe there's like a son of Luke or something that could be one of them.
Probably.
Like, I don't know. One time I had this theory. What happens if, like, they make a son of Luke in the new canon, since they have a Ben Solo, and then if there's a Jason Skywalker, since we have Jason Solo in the EU, they just flipped Ben Skywalker and Jason Solo.
Because that would sound pretty lazy.
Yeah. And even though they made a Jason Syndulla, which is, like, weird.
Yeah.
And hang on, I'm trying to think of something else. Like, what else could they do? I mean, we need to have definitely the Resistance beat the First Order.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Part of me actually had hoped Rey would join up with Kylo Ren.
Really?
Yeah, because when Kylo Ren was bringing up how the Jedi need to go, the Sith need to go, and I was like, why is he the only one making sense here? Like, seriously, really, both religions have been very dogmatic in their years, and they've made more problems than they solved, and really, the idea of Kylo Ren and Rey teaming up actually would have been a bold choice, but no, we can't do that. That's too much of an interesting concept.
I mean, do you think Finn will be Force sensitive?
No.
I mean, imagine if they did that in Episode 8. Like, they make a plot twist, like, he's actually a Force sensitive.
I don't think so. Like, the idea that Admiral Holdo was said to be probably Force sensitive, I was like, no.
I know. I was like, really? Are you serious? And then I think in a Facebook comment I had the picture of, like, that's not how the Force works. And then I just posted it.
Yeah, I was like, why is Admiral Holdo even being considered for Force sensitive? Like, the idea that everyone in the Star Wars universe can use the Force, it kind of diminishes it.
Yes, and then what? I mean, do you think Holdo was one of Luke's former students that survived?
No, she isn't. She's actually old friends with Leia since, like, they were kids.
Yeah, I heard she had a connection in the Leia novel.
Yeah.
And she came from the EU.
I believe so.
And I mean, Holdo is pretty much dead.
Yeah, and the idea of how they killed her off along with that fleet, I was like, when did they do that?
I mean, do you think Akbar should have done it?
I mean, like, okay, I get some arguments saying Akbar shouldn't have done that, but, like, And they could, and like IHE said that I Hate Everything guy, he said that wouldn't have worked for him or a lot of people because that would have just been because when he looks at Akbar, he just sees this thing that got into a meme with the whole "it's a trap" thing. Like, yeah, there's all this expanded universe material, but this is a completely different Akbar than the one we had back then. Because here's the thing. Akbar is supposed to be already dead by the time Force Awakens happened. The Force Awakens takes place 30 years after Return of the Jedi. Akbar was dead in the old canon in 20 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, does he die in the last New Jedi Order novel?
He dies in passing. They don't bring him up because they thought it would be too depressing, so they just mentioned that he passed away in his sleep.
Yeah, I do remember reading that in Unifying Force that they say Akbar was killed.
No, actually, he just passed away in his sleep.
Oh.
Yeah, after he had helped the New Republic with this big battle and everything was just done afterwards, he just finally decided to finally rest and become one with the Force, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something. Do you think we'll see Lando in...
Honestly, I don't know why they won't bring him back. Like, they brought him back for Rebels, why not bring him back for the movie?
Yeah, and then we have a young Lando and Han Solo.
Yeah. I was like, why isn't Billy D. Williams back yet? Like, I've been wondering that.
I mean, he said he's open to return.
He did return. He returned in Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, by the sequel trilogy-wise.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that Disney did bring him back. They just didn't bring him back when everyone had thought he would come back in.
Yeah.
In fact, Wedge was originally supposed to come back, but the actor said it would be too boring for him.
Really?
Yeah.
So you see Wedge at all?
No, Wedge isn't. I don't know if we'll see him again, but at the same time, something tells me he's not coming back because the actor just doesn't seem to be interested in it.
Yeah, I did remember hearing that. And yeah, like, I mean, what else? I mean, really, like, when The Way Last Jedi ended, like, you didn't get, like, all the things when you walked out of The Force Awakens, what comes next kind of thing.
Yeah, I was like, here's the thing. I made this long comment explaining why I feel like The Last Jedi, the sequel trilogy represents something that really should not have been represented in Disney's world. Remember how that famous line that George Lucas says, "The poetry, they rhyme"?
Yes.
I get the feeling Disney took that too literally.
Like how Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope.
Yeah, and how basically everything is set back into the same place again. The First Order's the dominant force now, the Republic's gone, and the Resistance has now become the Rebellion, according to Luke.
Yes, that cheapens Endor. I mean, that's where I feel like the post-Jedi, like the old canon's post-Jedi era, like the New Republic, the New Jedi Order era, and the Legacy era, I felt showed more of a progression. Do you feel like in the gap between Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens, they're just gonna like have to like how the New Republic era was with all the Imperial warlords coming out of hiding?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if that happens. Do you think they'll ever recanonize Palpatine as a clone again?
I don't think they'll do that.
I mean, they have like the robot Palpatine things from like the Shattered Empire comics and the Battlefront game.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll bring him back as a clone because if that was the case, why would Palpatine destroy his empire then?
Yeah. And then what's another one? Hang on. I'm surprised they haven't really fleshed Luke out for the post-Jedi era in the Disney canon. Like, that we haven't got much. I mean, he's one level in the Battlefront game. He briefly appears in the Shattered Empire comics. And he's not really in Bloodline, only mentioned.
Yeah.
that's about it. I mean, I don't know what they're saving. Do you think like the next animated show is going to be about what he is up to in that gap?
Probably.
Which I'm surprised The Last Jedi didn't go more in depth about his story. Because that's what I was hoping for. Like, to kill his nephew.
Yeah, I was like, there's some things I wanted to see. Oh, and by the way, remember that whole Luke Skywalker and his wife on the Desert of Tatooine thing?
Yeah.
That you also showed from the Last Jedi novel that you revealed?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, did you know what that really was?
A dream sequence.
Yes.
I know. I thought, oh wait, are they going to bring Mara Jade now? And then it's like someone from The New Hope deleted scenes.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm trying my best not to say that's not my Luke Skywalker because that's been done a lot. I was like trying my best not to say that because I was like, okay, I get Luke is miserable. I really, really get that. But I don't think he would wish that the Empire won.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like one of those dreams you have in your sleep and it's not real. You just have those weird dreams that just would you agree on that occasion?
I probably would, but like I said, I just, even Luke in his worst day, I don't think he would ever imagine never wanting to do any of that.
Yeah, I would agree too. And another thing, I mean, I feel like if they bring Mara Jade in the new canon, I feel like she's just gonna be like how they're using Thrawn and Rebels kind of thing. Like, kind of like, I feel like they'll strictly keep her as an... I feel like they're gonna strictly keep Thrawn as an animated character. And I feel like they'll do the same for Mara Jade. Keep her as an animated character and only be in books and comics. Could you see that as well?
Probably, but at the same time, since she would theoretically have a connection with one of the main characters of the movies, I would feel like that's kind of they have to bring her in a movie.
Yeah, I feel like episode 9 could be like she could be a placeholder for Leia and Luke. They will Luke on too soon.
Yeah. Also, here's the thing I kept thinking when I looked back at episode 7 and episode 8. I was thinking, was this always planned by Disney? They wanted to kill off the old generation? They were going to always kill off Leia?
I mean, Harrison Ford always wanted to kill off Han Solo.
Yeah, I could get that, but Luke was killed off, and they never changed anything up after Carrie Fisher's passing, so did that mean Carrie Fisher's character Leia was supposed to get killed off in 9?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I feel like what it's supposed to be. It almost was like 7 was Han's movie, 8 was Luke's movie, 9 was Leia's movie, then that all went south.
Yeah, it was confirmed that originally Leia was supposed to have a big role in episode 9.
Yeah, like I feel like it would have made more sense to kill Leia off in 8, and I feel like I wanted like Kylo Ren to confront Leia, and maybe like Leia kind of fight and like sacrifices herself, and Kylo kills her.
Actually, here's the thing I found out. In the novel of Last Jedi, remember when Kylo Ren doesn't fire on the bridge where he senses Leia?
I haven't read it yet, but I will read it. It's one of my next reads, the Last Jedi novel.
Oh, okay, because there was actually something pretty surprising I found out.
What is it?
Kylo Ren was committed to kill Leia, but when he had sensed that she held no blame to him, he couldn't do it. And then, he was such a shock, he didn't notice the missiles were coming at Leia from the other ships, but it was revealed that if Kylo Ren was not in that state of shock, he would have actually tried to save his mother.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, really?
No, like, when that happened in the movie, like when she flew out, I actually thought, oh no, they actually killed her.
Yeah, we talk that scene, the Superman Mary Poppins scene.
Yes, I was like, pretty much like when Leia like flew out the bridge, I thought, oh well, there goes the chance of Luke and Leia reunited, and then the, you know what happens.
Yeah, I was like, wow. I have no idea how to respond to that.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like I don't think it should have worked, and like it's just weird. Like how was she able to survive outer space without a suit?
Yeah, that led me to question like, wait, if a Force wielder can do that, then why do we never see the other Jedi's do that? Why do we not see anyone from the past do that?
Yes, I mean in the Clone Wars micro series, I mean Stacey Tin was in space and he had like that mask on.
Yeah, and Plu Koon had his face breather mask, and he could withstand the pressure.
Yeah, I mean plus probably that's his, it's EG.
Yeah, it just really confused me, and some people found it uncomfortable seeing Leia's dead, lifeless corpse for like a second after Carrie Fisher's passing, and then it just suddenly comes back to life.
Yes, that was weird.
Yeah, I was like, no.
Oh wait, continue what you were gonna say.
And then I was thinking when I thought about this again, wait, when Leia opened the door, shouldn't the vacuum of space suck them all back out?
I know that was weird.
Yeah, like even the do you know a YouTube channel called How It Should Have Ended?
Yeah, I see some of those videos. They always have those kind of funny, cartoonish.
Yeah, they actually brought that up.
What, with Leia?
Yeah, the whole Leia's not supposed to open the door, and she actually has a sign saying "Don't open the door," and then they open the door and they get sucked back into space.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but I'll probably give it a watch.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And they even joked about the whole Kenobi Rey thing.
They did?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I knew, like, Rey being a Skywalker would be a lot more likely than her being a Kenobi and stuff.
Yeah, for various reasons.
Yeah, I mean, technically it would go with, the George Lucas thing in poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah.
Though... And we
Though...
all hear the thing where George Lucas, Mark Hamill said in George Lucas's episode 9 that he would have killed off Luke. And do you think that screams it could have been in the gap between Crucible and Legacy?
Like I said, I think that might have been a different episode 9 than what Mark Hamill was talking about, because Mark Hamill said that he would get killed off after he finished training Leia. So I guess this was before the whole buy thing, and this was during when Lucas was still debating about doing a sequel trilogy before the prequels happened and the divorce.
Oh yeah, yeah, it could have been like the yeah, because I remember when George Lucas this could have been back in the 80s or something.
Yeah.
Was there gonna be a sister of Luke, but it wasn't Leia?
I think they mentioned that, but then they changed it.
Yeah, there's he had a sequel trilogy mapped out before the prequels, then a lot of the aspects got put in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, yeah, I think it would have made more sense for Luke to die in Episode 9, because if you were going to kill off the original trio, Luke would be the last one to end, in my opinion. Because he would put a lot more impact, because he's the face of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I don't think no one will ever buy Rey being the face of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, we talked about Anakin Solo, remember him?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I actually thought he would be the face of Star Wars. Like that was always the plan, get him to that position. But then the prequels happened, and they thought it would be too confusing, so they killed him off.
Yes, and then they planned the other way around. And then in New Giant Order, they originally wanted to kill Luke, and then George Lucas vetoed that and then he gave the thumbs up to kill Chewbacca.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you think Ben Skywalker could have lived up to that, or Jaina Solo, or Jason Solo, or Alana Solo?
Well, Jason Solo, no, because we know how that turned out.
Would it probably Ben or Jaina?
Jaina, probably. Ben, I really don't know. Like, the reason why I think a lot of people like Anakin Solo was because he had a huge storyline. He had to rise, and they were building him up for so many years. And when things changed, we had to cop out on this. And that was like the ultimate kind of waste of time, since they were building this character up, and they gave him a lot of stuff, and then they said, no, we can't do it now.
Yeah, because you had even Anakin Solo had his own book series, the Junior Jedi Knights.
Yeah, in fact, his first debut was in Dark Empire, I believe, and at his first minutes of life, Palpatine wanted to take over him.
Yes, I do kind of remember. Yeah, he does appear in one of the Dark Empire ones.
Yeah, and the clone of Palpatine tries to take over the newborn baby, and I was like, yeah, this really indicates that they wanted something big for Anakin Solo.
And nothing for Jason and Jaina?
Pretty much.
Yeah, and then... do you think Ben Skywalker could have had potential to be a driving force?
He probably could have, but we'll never know.
I mean, because Disney came in.
Pretty much.
I mean, heck, as I said on many times, to have the sequels between Crucible and Legacy, and that's why I also make the backup point with them killing off Han and Luke with Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
Yeah, Han Solo's death, that never surprised me, because I was like, well, Harrison Ford wants out because he hates Han Solo and doesn't care about the fans' perspective on it.
And Luke, man, I think Mark Hamill would be down to play Luke again.
Yeah, he actually did say this may not be the last time you saw Luke.
Yeah, and there's all saying about, he doesn't believe that he has hope that Luke could still be alive.
Yeah, here's the thing. Mark Hamill came to Rian Johnson and said, hey, can we do an evil Luke clone? That's not really me on the island, that's a clone of me. And Rian Johnson says, that's actually a good idea, but yeah, it's been done before, so no.
Yeah.
And when that was said, I was like, yeah, that sums up everything Disney's doing. We've seen it before. We've seen this before. We've seen that before. We've seen this plot line before.
Yes, and then Rian Johnson's new trilogy, he says he wants it to be set where he wants it to be a completely new Star Wars story. Is it new, completely new to the new canon lore, or is it are there gonna be things similar to, or is it gonna be something similar to the expanded universe?
Well, I'm hoping that he's able to at least I hope he's at least able to be allowed to go all out instead of being relegated to, okay, you can write everything you want, but can you put in all these Easter egg moments and then come up with nothing that really doesn't count for originality?
Yes, and then oh no, it's a trilogy.
Yeah, and except here's the thing I found out about Rian Johnson's trilogy. He's only going to direct the first one. He's not directing the other two.
So he's just going to help craft it out?
Yeah, he's basically going to be mostly a producer, I think, for the last two. But yeah, he's saying that this is his story, but the directors are going to be completely different.
Oh, gotcha. And then what do you think the Game of Thrones guys? What do you think their story's gonna be?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know because I don't think Disney will want to put a rated R Star Wars in their portfolio.
Yeah.
In fact, that was surprising when I heard that they hired the Game of Thrones co-creators.
Yeah, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, do you think they'll do Old Republic or no?
They probably could, like, that probably could fit their style in storytelling. Like, Game of Thrones was a dark, gritty novelization adaptation. They could probably do well with a darker Star Wars era, like the Old Republic.
Yeah. That's why I don't think we'll get it in this day of age with Disney owning Star Wars. Like, as we look with Rebels, they go for that lighthearted, and the Clone Wars had the balls to go dark.
Yeah, here's the thing I said to somebody on Twitter. I said this. I would be all for if the Rebels went a lighter tone, but here's the thing. It would have been much better if they had if it was more transitional. Like, it starts off being dark in the beginning, but as time goes on, it starts to become lighter and lighter as we get closer to A New Hope.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like, yeah, because Clone Wars, it had that lighthearted feel, then it started to progress and go much darker, like more PG-13.
Yeah, like in the Clone Wars, we see decapitations. We see kind of brutal reality like slavery.
Yeah, like, I mean, plus you get to see people getting stabbed in the back, heads getting chopped off.
Yeah, and we even see disturbing torture scenes and people being killed in them.
Yeah, and then do you think with the Vong in TCW, do you think that would have been a different tone and the show was going that direction?
They probably would have been actually very dark, and I actually was all for seeing the Vong. They said that they wanted to go in like an X-Files eerie kind of vibe to it.
Do you think it would have tied into the New Jedi Order novels?
Well, that's what I kept hearing. It was said that Dave Filoni and George Lucas came up with the idea of bringing the Vong, or at least a scout ship that came in advance, to look around and see the strength of the galaxy because they were because they wanted to at least acknowledge that, yeah, the EU still exists.
Yeah, even though like Filoni was this retcon in it.
Yeah, I think George Lucas also helped in the retconning thing. Like, they didn't, like, get rid of all the stuff that was in the old canon, besides that they killed off a character earlier or later.
Yeah, Evan Peel.
Yeah, but they always crunched down the novels that had came out beforehand and crunched them into the same year.
Like, they would crunch down, like, Shatterpoint and all them.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think, like, if they had the EU, if that the EU is still around, do you think they would have dumped the multimedia project and put it, like, with Infinities, or just put it in S-canon with the old Marvel comics?
I honestly don't know about that.
Because I know there's someone told me on Facebook that that in one of the Fantasy Flight books that there's a retcon that whatever... that the TCW could be Imperial propaganda.
Oh.
I mean, there is a theory online about between the micro series and the 08 show that one is the reality, the other is propaganda. Do you think that's a good idea for a good retcon?
No, not really.
I can't even think what else to say.
I was like, if they really did do that, that would be like really spitting in George Lucas's face. Like, then how do you explain Ahsoka? She was not in the micro series, but she does exist.
Yeah, like, I don't know. You could do something. Do you feel like, I don't know, I mean, we've been rambling too much, and I'm, like, out of ideas to say.
Yeah, that's the format of my podcast. We just discuss relating to a certain subject.
Yeah, I guess, even though we originally intended this to be Star Wars Episode 9 ideas, but we just rambled it down to different things.
Yeah, but it all relates to the new Disney canon.
True. We call this the future of Star Wars or something.
I was just going to say, I was going to call it Disney Star Wars issues or problems.
You could call it whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Yeah, do you feel like this new era of Star Wars will be like the MCU?
I don't really think so, because I really don't think so. They don't really have a shared universe idea yet. Like if they really were committed, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you would be at least hearing about the books, the comics, and hearing them on the movies and TV shows. But
Yeah,
they seem to be like entirely separate.
I know. That's like even though because like the difference between Marvel and Star Wars, like with Disney's properties, like Star Wars, all your media is in the same universe, and pretty much with Marvel, they draw from the comics.
Yeah, and here's the thing: in the Marvel movies and TV shows, they mention or even have certain characters from the movies and TV shows show up together, acknowledging that everything you're seeing is all connected. Whereas in the Star Wars universe of Disney's world, it's like, oh, Phasma's this character in the movies, but if you read the books, Phasma's actually this character, but we're not going to put her on TV. That would be too interesting.
Yeah, it's like I know it's kind of like with Star Wars. I know it's like they actually, even though we're expanding universe, like Ayla Secura, Coruscant, Quinlan Voss is based off a background character and is referenced in Episode 3.
Yeah. Also, remember that episode in the Clone Wars where that senator gets poisoned?
No. Which season is it in?
I think it was season 2.
Alright. Even, yeah, because with Clone Wars, I don't get, why did they air episodes out of chronological order?
Yeah, I still do not know that.
Yeah, that's where I feel like if you have a Clone Wars or Rebels debate, that's where I'd give points to Rebels because they air their episodes in chronological order.
Yeah, but here's the one thing that Clone Wars doesn't have that Rebels has that makes it a problem.
What?
Rebels has space whales!
Yes.
And I'm still saying that is the dumbest idea Disney ever came up with.
Yeah, like, I feel like Clone Wars it's like by a blowout, and then Clone War and Rebels gets like a few points, like in the airing chronological order, and you don't know what happens to the characters.
Yeah.
When you start it out, like you don't know what happens to our characters. Like with Clone Wars, that's where I feel like, I mean, you get where Obi-Wan and Anakin end up, and then Ahsoka is kind of like that. Do you feel like, in my opinion, like Ahsoka should have been Plo Koon's Padawan instead?
I can see the argument why, but I did like her relationship with Anakin because it actually did feel like it was built up and earned.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had like Ahsoka and Anakin be like good friends and stuff. You could like give, what was Anakin's life like outside the Jedi Council.
Yeah, and while I do understand that Plo Koon probably could have also been the teacher, I was like, the idea of Anakin having a Padawan, actually that kind of sounds interesting.
Yeah, I was like shocked at first when that happened. Like when I first heard that.
Yeah, it was a little surprising for me. Like, wait, he has a Padawan? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But then that got me concerned. Like, are they going to kill her off before Episode 3?
Yeah, and then she walks away. And then, do you feel like if Disney didn't buy Star Wars, do you think Rebels would exist or no?
Okay, that's a big debatable issue. Like, I get the feeling something like Rebels would have existed, but it probably wouldn't be in the same format we got.
Yes, I feel like it could have been like some offshoot thing.
Like, I think Star Wars Underworld was supposed to be that because it said it was supposed to take place between 3 and 4.
Yes, which I don't think there'd be any room for Rebels.
Yeah, and the idea of Star Wars Rebels and being in the old world of Star Wars, I would be like, No, especially what. Okay, here's the thing about why I just don't like Ezra's character.
What is it you don't like about Ezra?
I feel like, okay, we all knew how Ahsoka was built up. Everyone didn't like her at first because, oh, she's too snippy, she's too immature and whatnot. And then everyone starts to love her, and then they start to say, we can't imagine without her in any Star Wars film or a TV show. Get her a movie, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ezra, they made a major mistake with him in season 1.
What was that?
They kept saying that Ezra was important.
And then what happened? And what would you say happened?
That's it. Nothing happens regarding what makes Ezra so important to the rebellion.
And then, I felt like season 2, the way season 2 ended, I thought Ezra was going to go more all out dark side in season 3.
Yeah, and that only lasted 2 episodes.
I know, that kind of was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and the idea that Ezra is important, okay, but he's not doing anything that makes it say he's important. He's just there. When I thought about it, I was like, wait, I just realized something when I was watching season 4. I was watching season 4 and I had realized when I saw the first 2 episodes of season 4, it was like this. What has Ezra actually done that contributes to the plot?
Yeah, I feel like Ahsoka contributed more.
Yeah, with Ahsoka, you had an idea that it wasn't just her show, but they were trying so hard to make Ezra a new Ahsoka because Disney wanted their own kind of legacy character to that.
Yeah.
But they did seem to give Dave Filoni full creative control over that.
Yeah, and then, I know it, when do you think, that's why I feel like when I brought up maybe the next anime show will be between 6 and 7, and do you think they'll carry Ezra over, how they did with Ahsoka from Clone Wars to Rebels?
They'll probably do focus more on Ezra, Thrawn, Ahsoka, and Sabine during this whole cat chase game, and they might show Snoke in there because as Ezra and Thrawn, they're in the unknown, they're out somewhere. But they haven't returned, so that means they could be in trouble with Snoke in the shadows.
Oh, and then do you think we'll see Luke Skywalker?
At best, we might get a cameo.
Oh, make Mark Hamill voice him.
Probably, I'm pretty sure he'd be open for it, like he does in Force of Destiny.
Yeah. And then, I've heard reports that Jackson, the bunny rabbit, will be in the Disney canon.
Huh, I haven't heard that.
I don't know. I think he was in. I don't know. I thought I heard some report he's in some IDW comic or something. I can't remember. I don't know where I'm hearing the reports, but. And then Rebels name drops Pelion.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's actually kind of awesome, but at the same time.
They wasted it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, why is Pelion in here if you have Vanto in the books?
Yeah, and what happened? Who's the other? And then they kill Rook in the book, which I had the fear that they were gonna have Rook, backstab Thrawn, what they did in Last Command. Yeah, but ultimately they turned him into a red herring. Yeah. How would you say? How would you say Rook's? What do you think the look of Rook compared to the old canon?
When I was looking at images of Rook, I was like, that doesn't look like the Rook I saw from the images.
Yeah.
He looked like Rook seemed I seen the Nogri from Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and they looked bigger and whatnot.
Yeah, and then
they didn't look like monkeys.
As well.
Huh?
They're in one of the Republic comics.
Oh, I believe so. I don't remember.
I think it's one of them, and then I have one of the old '90s guidebooks of characters. In the Nogri have that they have some design around there, and different face structure in Rebels.
Yeah, and plus the Nogri acted too much like primate monkeys instead of actual Nogri to me.
Yeah, Rook more acted like a monkey in it. he could climb walls and stuff.
Yeah, and here's the thing I really was confused about. Why aren't the Empire characters kind of mocking Rook because they have an anti-alien belief?
Yeah, and then they have Thrawn in it.
Like Thrawn, you like in the novel, it's explained, it's shown that he is discriminated because he's an alien, but because he worked his way up. But we never see that in the show when we see stormtroopers like, oh my god, look at this alien, it's a freak. We never see that. I was like, I wanted to see the Empire's more discriminatory side.
Do you think, like, the Thrawn book could fit in the old canon? Like, do you think this could be a book if the EU was still going?
Okay, you could probably put bits and pieces in there. Like, you would have to cut some stuff out, change certain characters.
Like the Rebels connections?
Yeah, and also you would have to change Vanto and change it to a younger Paleon.
Yeah. Could you still have Governor Price in it?
No, and if we did, it would probably be a different character with a different name.
Yeah. And, I mean, Heir to the Jedi was originally supposed to be an EU book. And I think Tarkin.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because Tarkin has connections to Plagueis, the Darth Plagueis book.
Yeah, like, it was said that Tarkin was originally going to be an EU book, and the writer was the person who wrote Plagueis, and they were going to do this, but then Disney came in and said, no. Everything you've written, throw that out and rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you think, like, the Tarkin book originally could have had Natasi Dahlin?
Probably.
And...
But there is one thing I did not like about the Clone Wars. I kind of thought this was a dumb idea. Because in Tarkin, they mentioned that there's a Sith temple underneath the Jedi temple. And that was supposed to be shown in the Clone Wars series, had the show continued. And all I kept wondering is, why, how did they forget this?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And you want to know what else I found a problem with that? Like, remember how Mace Windu says their ability to use the Force had diminished? Mm-hmm. I was thinking, like, okay, that actually sounds interesting. What's causing it? And then as years went by and I learned more about the Jedi and their kind of very hypocritical system and dogmatic attitude, I would have bought the idea that maybe the Force is punishing them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like the Force is now deeming the Jedi no longer worthy, like they've lost their way, and they either fix their problem or they will face destruction. But no, they have to go with evil Sith temple underneath Jedi temple because the Jedi are that stupid.
And also, how do you think do you think we should get the Siege of Mandalore into a book or comic?
I would have loved it if they turned it into a show.
Yeah, or a movie.
Yeah, like Dave Filoni, from last I heard regarding Dave Filoni, a year ago, I kept hearing that he was trying to ask Disney this. Okay, Disney, I want you to let me make the show Ahsoka should have gotten after she left the Jedi Temple. And I want a budget bigger than the Clone Wars. It's going to be a miniseries, but I want a budget bigger than the Clone Wars.
Why is the so different in Rebels than Clone Wars?
Well, from what I was hearing, I think it was the budget. I kept hearing that George Lucas was spending his own money on the project.
Yeah, because he helped pay. George Lucas didn't have a writing credit, but he helped pay for TCW.
Yeah. And he doesn't have that in Rebels, and really Rebels animation seemed to only gradually get better, but it really improved for me in the last half of Season 4.
He knows more about Star Wars than, like, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson.
And what about Kathleen Kennedy?
Yes, and her.
Probably more so.
Yeah, as I remember watching, I seen a clip of Christian Harloff saying that Dave Filoni should run Lucasfilm, which I'd have to agree.
Yeah, I actually was like, Dave Filoni was Dave Filoni did say he was George Lucas's Padawan.
Yeah, in the celebration panel.
Yeah.
And then I remember it, and then because I remember like Christian Harloff from Collider says that Kathleen Kennedy wasn't on, how he's all saying she doesn't do anything about the biggest moments in Rebels, and she wasn't on the Rebels recon thing.
Yeah.
And another thing that Clone Wars has an EU is the Black Sun.
Is the what?
And Black Sun, and they exist, and then they survived the Disney purge.
Yeah, I think it's because since they were also in the Clone Wars, that gave them an extra boost.
Yeah, and Revan would have almost survived the Disney purge.
Actually, I think Revan has a bigger chance of returning than anyone else.
Yeah, because the old Republic era.
That, and they keep mentioning the Jedi-Mandalorian War.
Yes.
Yeah, they mention all this stuff about the Jedi and the Mandalorians, and I'm like, okay, just admit you're bringing Revan back. That'd be awesome. But really, the one character I want to see more than Revan return is Kreia.
Really?
Yeah, because she's actually probably the most interesting character of them all.
If I had to bring like 3 characters back, I'd bring Mara Jade, Revan, and Dash Rendar. And for a 4th, Prince Shizor.
Okay, I would actually bring Kreia back because you want to know why she was brought in and why she was in the Knights of the Old Republic 2 other than being a secret villain in the end?
Well,
She was meant, by the writers of Obsidian Entertainment when they made the game, she was meant to deconstruct the Star Wars universe and basically make you question everything you thought about Star Wars.
yeah, like I thought she was gonna be in the holocron from Rebels.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that, and I was like, please let it be her. Nope, it's not her.
Yeah, and then Filoni just had other things to do.
Yeah, in fact, they never brought up... And here's the thing. I kept hearing that in Season 4, Ezra and Kanan would have their faith in the Force tested. That never happened.
Yeah, I mean, if he ran Lucasfilm, he would know what the heck he's doing. He wouldn't be firing all these directors and stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but say, do this is how you should do it, this is how you should do it. Then he shows a Star Wars encyclopedia or something.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you want to know how I view how Disney should have structured Star Wars?
How?
The idea of the story group is a good one. I like that idea. They kind of had that with the old canon, with the holocron, but I was like, how about this? All the corporate stooges stay out of the creative side.
Yeah, have...
Yeah, Marvel's doing that. Look how they're doing.
Yes. I feel like we need someone like Kevin Feige. I think Filoni could do that.
Yeah, and I'm and I've been waiting for several years now, waiting for one moment in the Star Wars canon that could justify the reboot.
What?
I don't know. I need to get that feeling, but throughout it, I haven't gotten it. There were some moments where it looked like it could do it, but it hasn't. It just backs out from it. The World Between Worlds episode offers the idea of how they could justify it.
Yeah, I think that idea could work. I mean, Solo is going to bring EU stuff, and really, even I think they're going to bring Han Solo's EU backstory for Solo, the Imperial Academy thing.
Yeah, but also regarding my Snoke theory, regarding how he might be a paradox where he's not supposed to be there, but he broke the rules of space and time with the World Between Worlds gateways. I was thinking, what if the Cosmic Force is fighting back? They're using Rey and inadvertently Kylo Ren to kill Snoke, to correct a paradox, but they can't fix the timeline because it's all messed up now.
Yeah.
It would have to be up to Rey and Kylo Ren to fix it.
Yeah. Could be a good possibility.
Yeah, that would be like they could show, like the Force could show them that there is an alternative timeline where Snoke doesn't ruin everything, and
that'd be something.
And it's revealed that Rey is okay. This is my crazy idea. Rey could be Jaina Solo reincarnated, like parts of the past, part of the old timeline is being submerged by the cosmic force into the new canon.
That could be like why they have to cherry pick all these EU stuff to put in their canon.
Yeah, like the cosmic force is bringing all this stuff from the old timeline, trying to salvage what little remains in order to combat the threat of Snoke. That to me felt like that would be the way to fix everything for me.
Yeah, wouldn't be too much of a stretch. And do you think we'll ever get an episode 10, 11, and 12? Or do you think 9 will be the end of Saga films?
I think 9 will be the last of the Skywalker films for a while, at least.
Like, we'll probably get, like, episode 10, 11, and 12 in, like, the 2030s or something.
Probably at best.
Yeah, because I feel like Johnson's trilogy and Benioff and Weiss's movies will be the dominant Star Wars stuff in the 2020s.
Yeah.
What kind of standalone movies will we get?
I hope to see an Ahsoka one.
Yeah, like... What did you think of the Ahsoka novel?
I thought it was good. I did like that the voice actress for her voiced the audiobook. That actually made a more personal connection with it.
Yeah. Do you think that could have been a book we could have got in the EU, or no?
No. Mostly because of the Stormtroopers, if I had to say. Oh, and the Stormtroopers, yeah, I wanted to say this. The idea of why they got rid of the clone troopers was absolutely horrible.
What's the I mean... Oh yeah, because in the original Battlefront 2 campaign, remember when you play on the Camino mission?
Yeah, that actually made sense. But in the new canon, Rex reveals that Palpatine just fired all of them after a year.
Yeah, because I remember, like, in the issues of the Darth Vader comics, clones are still around.
Yeah, but that takes place after Episode 3. But in a year, they're pretty much all gone. And I thought, really? You're just firing all of them? Let's see if I get this straight. You're going to fire all these awesome Mandalorian clone troopers who can shoot something to save their lives in exchange for horribly trained stormtroopers.
True.
Yeah, because I really don't like the new canon version of Palpatine, because I get the feeling Disney has one philosophy when it comes to villains in Star Wars.
What is that?
That the villains, for them to be considered truly evil, that they have to be incredibly stupid.
Oh yeah, just have like your typical classic villain, kind of Saturday morning cartoon villain.
Yeah, because Palpatine in the old canon actually sounded like a cunning genius who actually changed plans when things alternated in order to get into his favor, whereas Palpatine in the new canon, it just feels like he's just getting completely contrived and lucky. And also being incredibly incompetent when it comes to firing clone troopers for no reason, other than saying they outlive their usefulness.
Do you feel like that the new movies could need to bring in characters from the books and comics?
They had to bring in the Phasma we get from the books.
Yeah, I'm talking like we need like characters like Dr. Aphra and Grand Admiral Ray Sloan.
Yeah, we probably could get them. Also, remember there's a clone trooper that is in the Force Awakens time period.
Is he the one at Maz's castle? Where's the...
I think he's the one that joined with that criminal gang that has the red helmets.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking. Oh wait, is it the Count?
Yeah, this clone trooper joined up with a criminal organization when he realized there was nothing left for him. Imagine if we have him in the new in Episode 9, and he actually reunites with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
His last connection to his past.
Wait, yeah, another one we didn't see in in Last Jedi they glossed over is the gangs from The Force Awakens.
I thought they were just filler.
Yeah. What about Duquesne from The Force Awakens? He was mentioned, but we never see him in Episode 8.
They could probably bring him back in.
Yeah. Which, kind of when you look at the original theatrical releases of the original trilogy, they mention Jabba the Hutt. And then he's in Return of the Jedi, and you see what he is.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to think now, like, yeah, because obviously if George Lucas was still around, you wouldn't have a movie every year.
Yeah, I think he would have given it more time.
Yeah, we'd have years apart. Because, do you think they should make a comic of his outlines? Or a book?
They probably could, like they eventually did make a comic out of his old drafts.
Yeah, for A New Hope, like, why not do one for his sequel trilogy treatments?
Yeah, but they would have to bring back the Legends canon and bring in the printing.
Yeah, like it would have to have a Legends label.
Yeah, like I said, when Marvel did the Ultimate Marvel universe, they kept they called it Ultimate Marvel in order to differentiate from the mainline Marvel.
Yes, which makes a lot of sense, and then that's how they could do with the continuing Legends. Like, release the Jedi and the label is on there.
Yeah, and like I also mentioned the DC comic stuff. Like, you had the Teen Titans be their own universe, Young Justice be its own universe, you had the DCAU be its own universe, you had the DC comic universe, you had the New 52, you had the DC Rebirth, and then you had the DC Extended Universe.
Yes, like...
And, like, that's like 6 different universes, and Warner Brothers made sure to say they're not all connected.
Yeah, like, even though it's Star Wars, even before Disney bought it, like back in the Lucas era, the expanded universe and the movies were in one universe, then you have the Infinities.
Yeah.
They could do that with the new canon and the old canon, like, with printed new Legends books.
Yeah, they could do that, but I don't know why Disney doesn't want to.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Like, I tried to tweet to one of the story group members about it, and I feel like they kind of were giving us a point of view.
A what?
I don't know, it's hard to explain. I feel like they one of the story group members liked the idea, but he just doesn't think it would. I don't know what's holding him back.
Okay, I could actually buy if they said this. They fear that if they do it, it will risk oversaturation to a major point, like they already have it at it.
Yeah, like they're pumping out movies every year.
Yeah, and like I think back then, George Lucas said there would only be like 3 to 4 books every year, and they had to be split apart by months.
True, like with the new movies, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to be would you say it's harder to be like a completist for the new canon, being that guy who just buys everything on the day it comes out?
I really don't know.
Like with Matt Wilkins, I bet like he had more time to be like, because he's like one of the EU like gods, like he knows like he's almost like the god of EU.
Yeah, I've seen some of his videos. I was like, yeah, you could probably have him be the new keeper of the Holocron.
Yeah, for Legends canon.
Yeah.
Do you watch his channel?
Yeah, I do from time to time. I haven't seen it in a couple of months, but I did watch it a lot.
Yeah, like he's back. Like, he could win in a debate against anyone on the EU, right?
Probably. Like, there are some diehard Star Wars fans out there. In fact, he's one of the reasons why I bought the Essential Reader's Companion.
Really?
Yeah, I bought the Essential Reader's Companion because I was so engrossed and wanted to know more about the old canon. when Disney stuff came around, and I bought it, and I and I enjoyed it. In fact, that was one of the reasons. That was how I managed to make the series of New Jedi Order videos I made.
Oh yeah. Did you read the books?
Yeah, I had, and I also had to read some other documents in order to get a full better understanding, and also to keep myself remembering of synopsis information, because I couldn't just speak through the microphone and just keep changing pages in the book. So I just read the condensed version on Wikipedia in order to make my thoughts more coherent.
Oh yeah. So you just kind of did it to refresh your memory and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say a trivia team by like Matt Will. Have you ever watched Nathan Butler?
I don't think so.
He does like the Timeline Gold, and he's like almost read every Star Wars book in the world, even the new canon.
All right. Also, after this podcast, I can send you a link, because I found a site where they keep a timeline of a whole bunch of franchises, and Star Wars, New Canon, and Legends have their own subcategory.
In it? Alright, I'll give it a look once you send me. Just send it to me on Twitter or something.
Yeah, I can show you that on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk, I guess, for a few more minutes.
Okay, like, we can just wrap it up with a conclusion. So, where do you see... sorry.
Oh, you stuck.
Okay, I was going to say, where do you see Disney's Star Wars universe going in the next decade?
I'm not sure. Like I'd love to see their canon get more expansive, like the old EU. Because I feel like they need to, quit with... I mean, they can't do the, era between episodes 3 and 4 and the era between episodes 4 and 5, because that's mostly where their canon is, and they barely release stuff for the prequel era and the sequel era.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, do you feel like they're more saving the big events for the films and the minor stuff for books and comics?
Yeah, that's the vibe I kept getting. Like, I was like, but for me, Episode 9 to me may be Disney's last chance to really justify the reboot.
Yeah, it's like, because to me, Last Jedi feels more like and end of a trilogy.
Yeah, I was like thinking like, this is how I view how they should justify the reboot. They need to put something in the movies or something that has never been done before, that has never been copied from Legends, that has never been done in Legends before, to truly give something like, wow, I could never imagine it happening in Legends.
Yes.
Like, the World Between Worlds is a step in the right direction to me.
Yeah, and Leia floating through space never happened in the EU.
Yeah, it has to be something really, really good, but I really feel like Star Wars Rebels presented an idea.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Filoni did a solid job on the show. I mean, but Clone Wars I'd say he got better as he went on, but Rebels he had, he had it, and then there were just things that were like, eh. Yeah,
I really didn't like, that droid that was singing in space. It felt so Disney-ish.
In the helicopter lightsabers, in Ezra's lightsaber from Season 2 and 1.
Yeah, here's the thing. I actually liked Ezra's old lightsaber gun thing. That actually felt like, oh my god, he's adapting. He's not being stuck in the one Jedi religion. But then they kept saying that, but the creators were saying, oh, that was Ezra growing up from a kid's toy to an actual lightsaber. And I was like, what's kiddie about a projectile weapon / sword?
Yeah. Another thing I found a bit, Ezra's slingshot from Season 1 was weird.
Yeah, he kind of just abandoned that after Season 1.
Yeah, and then until he got his lightsaber.
Yeah.
I feel like in Season 3 and 4, he looks much better, in my opinion. He doesn't look, how people made the joke Space Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, Ezra, he could have been an interesting character for me, but I was like, if he got killed off, I probably wouldn't feel the same impact if Ahsoka was killed off.
Yeah, Like, I feel like I liked Kanan. I feel like Kanan was my favorite out of the What about you?
Yeah, but even then, it's feeling like a cop-out reason because to truly understand him, you need to read his comics.
Really? I mean, I've read a few of it.
Yeah, like how Kanan met Hera in New Dawn, and how Kanan survived the massacre of the Jedi in Order 66, and I was like, why can't you just show this in the show?
Yes, I agree with you. Like, I feel like elements in Bloodline, it should have been in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, like Leia doesn't even mention that, and I was like, wasn't that when you were at your most miserable?
Yeah, and then they don't even go over it in The Last Jedi.
No, they don't bring it up at all because the Republic was wiped out.
Yeah, like, they don't even mention aspects from Bloodline in The Last Jedi, and then a lot of people... And then did Rian Johnson work with Claudia Gray on it?
I think so, I don't know.
That's what I thought I've heard.
In fact, J.J. Abrams said originally he wanted Star Wars The Force Awakens to end with Luke using a bunch of rocks. But Rian Johnson came in and said, hey, can you change this scene a bit because I have something different planned?
I know, yeah. I feel like Rian Johnson, like, I feel like he just got, like, basic things from J.J. Abrams, and then after that he just went on, and then he just got the basic plot point. He just got basic things, like, that happened in The Force Awakens, and then he just made up things as he went on. And then he just watched The Force Awakens as a fan, would you say?
I would say yes, but I wouldn't really attack. We're not those fan people that attack Rian Johnson. Like, I get he wanted to tell his own story and not just be relying on someone else's story. I get that. I really do.
Yeah, because if I was making the movie, I would say, JJ, I need you to write the script with me.
Yeah, I think that would have been best. Like, they could have co-written the script together in order to bounce off ideas.
Yeah, it's like, cause at least, because JJ had this whole thing probably mapped out when he got signed on to direct The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and he did say he wished he had directed Episode 8 when it was announced Rian Johnson was going to be the director.
Yeah, because that's probably where he figured a lot that Rian Johnson screwed him over. Would you agree?
Probably, but it was said J.J. Abrams said he had saw Rian Johnson's script and he said he wished he had written it.
Yeah.
So really, a lot of things that Rian Johnson wrote might not get really changed that much.
Yeah, because I feel like Abrams, he'll try to work his bit, what he had in mind, his way around it.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have I feel like the pressure is on him for Episode 9.
Yeah, like, not only does he have to try and fix the issues that Last Jedi have, but he also has to try and show that he's not just being a puppet for Disney and how Force Awakens was seen by many fans as a play it safe movie.
Everything occurred in the prequels.
Yeah, so yeah, J.J. Abrams has an uphill battle.
Yeah, and then with Episode 9, he wants to unite everything.
Yeah, and like I said, the only way I see Episode 9 ending any semblance of well is if they go with that time travel paradox theory.
Yeah, that could do something. I mean, and then probably bring in Anakin and Obi-Wan's Force Ghosts as well.
Yeah.
Heck, bring Lando in this movie, and as I said, maybe recanonize Mara Jade if you want to.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, at least, and then you brought up the Ahsoka idea. At least that could get more people back in the seats or something, and maybe the toys could sell better.
Yeah. So ultimately, what did you think of this podcast?
Good. What about you?
I thought it was enjoyable. Oh, I thought it was enjoyable.
Yeah, same.
Alright, everybody, this was Neo Reality Entertainment and JediMasterDaniel96 on Neo Reality Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.